My name's Kevin O'Donnell, and by the time I finish school, I will be about this much in debt.
My name is Brooke Welsh. By the end of my college education, I'll owe around $25,000.
So my name is Naomi Faith, and I'm finishing up my master's, and by the end of it I will be $25,000 in debt.
My name is Julia Stonke, and when I'm done with college I will be in this much debt.
My name is Nick White. I'm currently $22,000 in debt.
I'm Alexanne, and I'm roughly $40,000 in debt.
So I'm finishing up my Master's of Fine Art in Jewelry and Metalsmithing.
I'm majoring in graphic design and minoring in web design.
Bachelor of Arts of Film and Video Production.
Going to school for fine arts. I'm a painter.
I am a graphic design major.
Film and Video Studies major with a specialization in production.
Teaching, it's always been that. Throughout every major transition in my life, I've wanted to be a different kind of teacher, but I have always wanted to be a teacher.
I was really good at math, especially short. I was really fast at multiplication, division, all it's really fast, and I love money. So I just loved handling money, and I wanted to go into business. I thought about that for a long time. They have a really good business program here at Central.
Originally I wanted to come to school to be a surgeon, but I took a chemistry 181 class, was just like, I cannot do this.
I was going to be an NBA basketball player. They didn't have WNBA yet, so that's what I was going to do.
I really didn't have this aha moment that, okay, this is, what I want to do. Just because I felt like I was kind of denying my passion for art. I wanted to do something that could potentially make me some money, or something that, might be considered a real job.
When I was really young, I wanted to be Woody. But something I also wanted to do was architecture. I studied it for a long time, went to Italy, toured all around Italy, Rome, Venice, Florence, and went to the Duomo and the Colosseum and saw all this great architecture. And I guess a goal or a dream of mine was always to be an architect for roller coasters. I was a roller coaster tycoon fanatic.
Growing up, we always made stuff, just in general, and we used whatever we had because we were really poor. So popsicle sticks were probably one of our favorite media tools. We had these big rolls of butcher paper, and we would just line the walls with them. In our house, I would just be able to run around the entire house painting and drawing on everything. So I would just be completely naked, covered in paint, and just smearing the walls with color. It was amazing. We did this one thing that I'm still inspired to do. Whoever's turn it was, they would take the pad of paper and the pen, and they would close their eyes, and then they would inscribe whatever they felt like inscribing. And you had to kind of do something that was loose and free-flowing, not necessarily try to make a shape. You're not trying to make a star or anything. It was very simple, and yet at the same time allowed me to begin to critically think about making an art. So that was really kind of the initial push, was growing up that way.
I probably got it from my sister. She's 4 years older than me, and she's always doing not just art drawing, but I was doing crafts and collages, but it was never something I thought would be a career or a legit thing.
I've been drawing, I have drawings from when I was a kid. I've always drawing. Actually, back in elementary school, people always called me the tall girl with the ponytail who could draw. That's what I was known for.
I would consider myself a pretty artistic person, like especially at a young age too. I found for me that it was art, you know, it was more of a personal thing, and it was a really good outlet for me growing up. So it was almost more therapeutic than really like a passion for me.
I decided film because it was the last quarter of my sophomore year and I had not picked a major yet. No, growing up, I always loved movies. That's my biggest hobby, dating back to when I was first born. Just all I ever did was watch movies. I dabbled in sports a bit, tried a lot of different clubs, but spent most of my weekends staying up till sunrise watching movies. Next thing you know, one hobby became another, and why not do what you love? So I followed film.
Originally I was really hesitant to go to school for art because of, you know, all the talk about how you're not going to make money, blah, blah, blah. But I just decided that it's what I do in my spare time. It's what I do all the time. It's what I want to spend the rest of my life doing. I want it to be a part of my life forever. And no, I thought I'd be really successful, so.
Well, definitely, I didn't decide to go into graphic design until probably like end of like my first year in college. I didn't even know what it was. I just knew that I didn't want to do anything medical. I didn't trust myself with anybody else's life in my hands. I didn't want to teach. I didn't trust myself to learn people or whatever you'd call that. So I don't know. It just was. I've always liked to draw. I've loved everything art. So it's sort of why not, I guess. What's an art career that you can do and make money? I mean, I love to paint. So I'm just not good enough to live off of it. So I thought, you know, why not?
One of my very first school projects was a writing class I had, and we had the option of making a movie. And so me and two of our buddies decided to make a film about a Yeti and an investigation that went on when people started disappearing. And I just fell in love with it, and so I started making movies with my neighbors. And I must have made 6, 7 movies before I hit high school. But I always enjoyed the aspect of telling a story through images that can emotionally impact an audience halfway across the globe. It's just always got to me.
I went to Evergreen, and that's where I did my undergrad. And when I was there, I was focusing on studio art in general. I was doing like a half dozen different studio arts and hadn't really honed in on any one particular thing that I really enjoyed. Because I had access to materials and resources, I just started making art objects in metal and fell in love with it, and then spent the next year and a half or so doing that exclusively and applied for a senior thesis grant. So I had this whole senior thesis project that I created and worked independently on, and had a big exhibition.
When I first came to Central, I didn't really know what path I wanted to go down, you know, as far as my career was concerned. And I didn't even know graphic design existed at the time. You know, I was interested in a lot of different things, and I found that I was like procrastinating on all of my other homework and doodling and painting and shit, and like I just realized that this is probably what I should be doing, you know, if it's hard for me to focus on really anything else.
I would love to say that I have a style or something that I'm like noted for and that I know that I do, but I don't even know what it is. I guess it kind of just does come from project to project. People always tell me they can tell when I've done a project or when something's mine, and I always ask them how, and they're just like, I don't know, just the way you sort of solve that design problem or thing, that you can just tell that it's mine. But I don't see it. I don't know why. I wish I had a style.
In a lot of work that I do, you can see my hand, and you know, a lot of times my friends will tell me like, oh, I can tell that you did that. So I definitely have my own style, and that's present, I think, in all of the work that I produce. I get a lot of inspiration from other artists, and also just non-related, you know, just nature and beer and pretty much anything. I mean, I kind of pull inspiration from everything. Like I look at work that I've done in the past, and I think like, oh, I could have done this better, and I kind of apply that to my new projects a lot. So it sounds kind of vain to say, but myself, I get inspiration from myself. That is really vain, isn't it? No? Okay, well, it's the truth.
My more successful pieces, only recently, I've kind of developed a theme, which is the female body. I love portraiture and figurative work, and I've had nude female models before, which I don't know who wouldn't, but I love, so kind of going with the whole, you know, most women nowadays are so self-conscious.
The inspiration for me that keeps coming back was going back to my childhood passion of just watching film. My mom tells me this great story of the original Batman. It's either Batman or Batman Returns. I think it might have been with Danny DeVito. But my mom took me after she got off work to go see it with my sister, and she fell asleep during the movie and woke up, and I was on the edge of the seat, like jumping up and down, just having a blast as a little kid. Maybe I was like 5 or 6, if that, probably younger. But just whenever I get really down and don't have much hope for the future of film, my big hobby is still seeing movies, and I go to the theater at least once a week, and every once in a while I'll catch a film that really hits me hard. And to recreate that, to be able to make that kind of film is a goal in life. To make somebody feel the way that I just felt watching this movie, that is the best thing I could ever do.
So every major body of work I do is inspired by lengthy research. I don't draw. My advisor actually makes fun of my journal all the time because I have this giant sketchbook and the vast majority of it is writing. And so I read a ton of theory. There's this one book in particular that really propelled me forward, which is The Anatomy of Disgust. And it just breaks down, you know, what is disgusting? What does disgust mean in general, and what kinds of substances and things disgust us and why? I mean, that work is visceral and biological and conceptual and theoretical, and it inspires more objects than like looking through books of objects. I can't do that. I get inspiration from sentences and words and script, which is why there's so much script in my actual exhibition.
I think I pull a lot of inspiration through interactions I have with my friends or with my family, or memories or events that happen through my life. Definitely inspire me to write stories and to produce movies and to tell stories, and more and more I'm wanting to integrate a message into my stories. And I think as the older I get and the more expenses I have, the more solidified that message becomes. I want to inspire people to be the best that they can be. It doesn't matter if you're working at a gas station down the road or you made a $30 million movie. It really doesn't matter. If you are being the best person you can be and putting yourself in good situations and presenting yourself well and encouraging others and spreading common decency and respect, then other people will catch that and share it. I mean, what you do affects other people, whether you like to believe that or not. We are all wakes that make more wakes. I mean, as soon as we hit someone, they're gonna go off and hit someone else. Not physically or anything, it was just a metaphor. There's philosophical things and spiritual things and all sorts of crap going on in my head, so we'll find out someday.
I was always really, I had a hard time with my parents growing up, a lot of butting of the heads. But when I talked about what I wanted to do for life, this is like completely being open to them. Like I'm terrified of the real world. That's why I still bartend. But I'm terrified of whether or not I could actually do this, because film is an occupation. It's a field where only maybe 10% of people really make a really strong living out of it. So it's just terrifying knowing that you are unlikely to ever make it. But this is what I want to do, and every time I bring it up, they'll just immediately shut me off. Well, yeah, just, you don't know what you're talking about. You're gonna change your mind here in a bit. And that's just crushing to have that environment around you the entire time. And I think that's what pushed me so hard to never go back home. I go home maybe twice a year. I love my parents now. We are the strongest relationships ever. But I love them, they're great people. But I needed to be on my own, and I need to be as independent as possible. And I think at one point when I realized that, I snapped out of it and I stopped really caring whether they liked it or not, because I was gonna do it. And I think there was no one single moment where they saw that. It was just over time, they realized that they weren't gonna have a say in it. And I think they're kind of happy about that, knowing that I can make my own decisions. And from then on out, they're 100% behind me.
Not really, and only for the fact that I don't think that my parents or anyone like that knows what graphic design really is. So they can't be like, I mean, maybe they don't even know that it's an art career, you know? They're like, they never say like, you shouldn't go into graphic design. I mean, I've talked to my dad kind of about it and told him that I'm looking for jobs and internships, and I think he thinks it's kind of like if someone was to be like an architect or something, he thinks I'm doing like graphic, like really technical stuff, and so he probably thinks I'm going to make a lot of money off it already, and he's confused. If they were to find out what I'm doing, what would they say? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think they would be worried?
Maybe a little bit. Yeah, maybe a little. Definitely, yeah. My mom's like an accountant and stuff, so she'd be like, an art career, like, let's be real here, you know? So, yeah, probably, but pretty much just I'll keep it a secret. Maybe we'll have to find out.
The teacher from the English class that I did my first project in, when I was going away for college, he asked me, Kevin, what are you going to college for? And I said, film. And he said, Kevin, that's a tough industry. Are you sure you want to do that? And this is a guy he's been in theater programs in Seattle. He's done a lot of multimedia stuff. He's been in a lot of productions. He does opera, and so he knows the scene. He knows what's going on, the realm down there. And it wasn't trying to discourage me. I don't think he was trying to say, you know, you can't do that. But it definitely was a voice of really interesting. It put a little bit of doubt in me. I mean, he is an influential person. He was a very influential person to me at the time. And so I started doubting, you know, can I do this? Should I do this? I mean, there's always going to be that voice in the back of your head that builds up over time as people say these certain things, and it's just like this little burden on your back, or this guy whispering in your ear, you know, you can't make it. But I guess when it comes down to it, if you're doing what you love, then there's no reason to look back.
Creativity is within our nature, and I think that everyone has the potential to harness it. And when you do, you have so much more potential in your life to create and be passionate. We are also physical beings, and to deny your body access to other physical materials, I think is a shame. I think that people need to work with their hands more. People need to be more tactile. People need to engage their senses. We have all these incredible senses, and yet nowadays we often limit our use of them and/or only use certain things like our thumbs for texting. Historically, like, we have been making art for so many years, it's just natural. It comes from us. If we only work towards career, or we only work towards, I don't know, certain industries that inhibit our humanity, then I think that's a shame, and I think it's a waste of space and time in the human body. Just because someone is like a biology major doesn't even necessarily mean that they'll have a job in general. You know, I mean, perhaps they will, but there's a lot of biology majors. So just because you went into law doesn't mean you'll be a successful lawyer. So I think arts, like, they're really just like anything else. They're just more ethereal than other things. But you can often do more with an art degree than you can with a lot of other things. For my show, for example, like, you know, I wrote my thesis, I made all the art objects, I installed the entire show. There's so many different skills that I gained while doing that, and so many skills that I now have that other people don't have. So, you know, I could get jobs in galleries, I could get jobs in education facilities, I could get jobs just making art objects, I could get jobs writing, I could get jobs documenting art objects. I could do so much. So I don't feel like it's limiting at all to go into the arts.
I think it's important, and it's kind of inevitable, because I think there's art in everything, whether even in science. I mean, there's still creativity and everything. But I think it's really important because you could do anything you want in art, anything at all, and just kind of throw it out into the world, and people take in what they want of it. But it's your own creative freedom, and I think it's awesome, and we need it.
I know why I decided to do an art career instead of like science or math, because not to be like whatever, but I'm actually pretty good at math. Like I've always been really good at math and science, and I actually really enjoy it. Like I love physics, and I feel like I get it pretty easily, like, you know, but math or science, I was like, this isn't personal at all. Like I can take this formula and do these numbers and blah, 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 and like no one's gonna know anything about me. It's like, it felt so safe, and I felt like I wanted to go into a career where I wasn't safe. Like, why did I want to play it safe my whole life? Especially after I came into college and I was like sort of doing this, you know, as a whole new area, whole new person, whole new, everything was new. So I was like, why not? Why not just put myself out there? I don't know any of these kids. I'm going to do art, and it's going to be scary, but you know, fuck it. I don't know any of these people, so whatever. That's the reason I did it, is because it was just in a way to like make myself better, to fix like a personal flaw, I guess. So, and I feel like it kind of worked a little bit. I still get kind of freaked out about showing art. And when I mean kind of freaked out, like every single time we have a critique, I'm like seriously losing my lunch, but like that's okay. I'm getting better.
Maybe art really isn't important at all. Like I said before, I kind of do it for my own personal reasons. Maybe society's right in thinking that what we do is unimportant, you know, and not a valid career choice. But I mean, I don't know. Then like you look around and you see other professions, and it's like, well, what really is important? What do we really ultimately need to survive? And there's a lot of professions I think we could, you know, just cut completely and we would all live totally, you know, fulfilled lives. But I mean, that's kind of the beauty of, you know, having a profession related to art or anything else, is that you have, you know, you're able to kind of pursue your passions and make money doing it.
I mean, we are a social species, and the only way that we can really come together and be social is through expression. And what is art if not expression? I think the world would go crazy without a little bit of art, a little bit of poetry, some music. I think filmmaking, or any art form in that matter, it has to be here. There has to be some sort of avenue for us to express ourselves and to share what we think and what we feel with the rest of our society. I mean, that's how we stay connected. That's the point of telling stories. Storytelling's been around since the dawn of age. That's because it was a way not only to educate, but to share stories and discipline, and to show each other that we are alike and that we do all feel the same way. And without that, we would fall apart. We just would. And so film is definitely one of those things that has such a great impact on the community and our society that if it were to go away, I think we would be devastated in more ways than we might even imagine.
Who's the most respected person in a tribe? The storyteller. The most artistic person you could think of, other than the person drawing the cave paintings. People rely on entertainment. It's going to be around forever. It'll never go away. Entertainment will outlast all of us. If it just goes away, then what's the point in going along, living? What's the point of, you know, being alive? If you're not entertained, you're a vacant body. You're a robot. You need to be challenging yourself and being a little bit creative. In fact, if you're worried about what people say about you or how they feel about art, then you shouldn't go, because honestly, you're thinking about other people, not yourself first. That's the first thing every artist needs to learn how to do, is think for themselves.
I feel like I should be scared because, you know, my folks are, you know, they often are like, well, you know, you gotta make sure you get a job. I feel like they're a lot more scared for me. I don't know, maybe it should be. Maybe all of my elders know a thing or two more than I do about, you know, how all this debt may potentially, you know, fuck up my financial situation in the future. But I just don't feel that at this point. I guess actually, now that I'm kind of talking it all out, I'm fearful that this will just turn into a job that I end up hating. I don't want to hate my life, and I don't want to hate art, because it has been such a great outlet for me, you know, through all these years, and it is something that I really enjoy doing, and I would hate for that to just become, you know, a paycheck. Most
people are afraid of not getting a job. I'm not afraid of that, because I decided to get a degree in film. I know I'm not going to get a job. So now anything other than that's going to be, mind-blowing. What scares me the most is passing up an opportunity. Something huge could just fly right by me, and I'm working full-time as a bartender, and it's great. It gives me enough money to keep going by, but I just don't want to make sure I get my priorities straight, because if I have one thing that passes me by while I'm doing this instead, I could have just lost an entire lifetime career in film. It's so hard to get into film, but once you're in it for a lifetime. So I just have to take every opportunity that I can get. Never pass up an opportunity.
I'm not really afraid of anything, but I do have concern about not being different enough or not standing out enough to be noticeable, I guess that's the only concern I would have, because whether I'm successful or not, I'm still going to keep painting, and hopefully I'll have a job and be a professor. But yeah, I think the biggest thing as an artist is to be able to stand out and draw attention in a good way, and have your own style and everything.
It's like I'm moving to go to San Diego to like pursue this graphic design internship and stuff, and I need a job in the meantime. And so I'm applying for jobs, and I've applied for like a crepe bakery shop to a nightclub. And then I'm like, I have to go to fucking class tomorrow for my design degree. And I'm applying for jobs to be a freaking, I don't know, cocktail waitress. It's, it's kind of funny. I don't know. I guess that's a fear. Thinking that I'm gonna be flipping burgers and not flipping awesome designs. I don't know. It sounded better in my head. Flip it off clients, giving great designs. Yeah. I thought it was cool for a minute.
The fear really stems from the unknown of, will I ever have access to this stuff again? I don't necessarily need a big fabrication studio to make what I am making, but who knows what I'll be making in 10 years, So it I'm sure will come down at one point where I have ideas to make objects, but I don't have the facilities to make them. And that's okay. I think that, every stage of my development within the arts kind of inspires a different response. For me, I guess kind of the greatest fear is remembering to stay up on it and not to just take a break for a long time and lose it completely. Not that I really think that'll happen, but it's just to always be actively engaging critical thought. So yeah, the fears they're there, but they're not daunting at this point. I just expect a lot of changes, but a lot of positive growth and forward momentum.
My greatest fear is to be stuck in that dead-end job, not doing what I want to do at all, not having the tools, not having the knowledge, not having even known that I tried. I mean, that's terrifying to me, and that goes back to some of the messages that I want to incorporate, some of the inspirations that I get from the experiences I have, is that you have to go out there and make yourself the best you possibly can be to whatever case, because it's that person that you want to be. That's who you have to live with. The debt, it'll be there, it won't be there. It's just money, it's just debt. I mean, people live in it. You gotta live with yourself 24/7, so what are you gonna do to make yourself happy? I guess it really comes down to, who do you wanna be and what do you wanna do? And if you can't make sacrifices like money, which shouldn't be a sacrifice ever, then you're really not passionate about it.